Hello, good afternoon, um, everyone. I am eager to promptly start at 2:30 because I know everyone's taking the time out of their busy days. So we will start. Just to note that this session is being recorded. Just for you to note, this is so that we can share it with people across the trust who haven't been able to attend today. So just to make note of that, for everyone who is on the call. I'll start. Oh. Hello. Sorry, I'm not sure if that was a question, but that's fine. If anyone does have a question, please come in. Um, I'll start off by introducing the session. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Frost. I am the head of patient and public involvement and engagement in research and innovation. And I've been joined by Professor Opinder, who is a professor in orthogeriatric medicine. With us and who is kindly agreed to showcase his fantastic work for the Nice Scream project. So I won't go into too much detail because he is going to divulge all of this fantastic work to us shortly. As a means of introduction, I just want to give a background to our Research Lounge series. So this was born out of, well, the pandemic as a means of trying to engage with our patients public, but also around information sharing with our clinicians, academics, and staff members across the board at NUH. So it's really about making sure that the fantastic research that is done is shared as widely as we can and making this readily available. So that's the context of the Research Lounge. How it will run today is that I'll shortly pass over to Professor Sahota, who will give us an overview of his project. We'll have time at the end for the discussion points, for questions. I will say if you have a question as we go through, please pop that in the chats that I'll be monitoring, and then at a convenient time, I will come in to ask that question and invite you to also ask a question if you'd prefer to do that. So that's how it'll run, hopefully closing by 1:30 today. And of course, any questions that you have after this, I've left our contact details up there. Any recommendations for any other sessions that you'd like to hold, if you'd like to showcase your own research, or you have, someone with your colleagues you feel like their research should deserve to be showcased, then please don't hesitate to contact me. This is what this is all about, is making research more available. So without further ado, I'll stop sharing my screen. Here we are. I'll pass over to yourself, Professor Sahota. Are you okay for me to share your slides, or would you prefer to do that yourself?
Yeah, you can share them. That's fine.
Yep, no
Thank
problem
you.
at all.
So thank you, Kate, and so good afternoon, everybody. You'll be pleased to know that although I know Kate had planned for us to go across to 1:30, I don't think we're going to be that long. My presentation is only about 15 minutes, and then hopefully it's good 15-20 minutes for discussion for those of you that have questions. I often find it really quite challenging over lunchtime to sort of try and speak for about 40 minutes. So again, thank you for the kind introduction. And what I really proposed is to really share with you perhaps as what was more of a clinical problem and how we managed to sort of use innovation research to try and challenge some of those issues and the success that we've had, but also looking for ideas and support from yourselves and how we can extend sort of the project further, really. So this is the creation of a protein-rich ice cream for older people. Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Next slide, please. So one of the big problems is malnutrition. Malnutrition is a huge problem across the UK. It's estimated that approximately 1.3 million people in the UK over the age of 65 years have evidence of malnutrition. And that's really spread around the communities, approximately 60%. Care homes, approximately 30%. And then in hospitals at any one time, about approximately 10% of our patients are actually malnourished. You get a further problem in hospital itself, just coming into hospital. Many patients who are unwell, you lose your appetite, you go off your food. Patients may be in pain, which again, you lose your appetite, some people not even may like the hospital food. So itself, it makes it worse. So you have people who have A, malnutrition, B, then it's exacerbated. But in those people who are normally quite well and eating well, problems also become worse because of the lack of food inside hospital. Thank you very much. Next slide, thanks. So what happens when we become malnourished? Unfortunately, when you become malnourished, you start to lose protein. And when you start to lose protein, your muscles start to become weak. And when you start to have weak muscles, we know the incidence of falls will start to increase. And hip fractures are the most serious injury that you will sustain following a fall. And evidence shows that there's approximately 80,000 hip fractures per year. Within our own trust, we're looking approximately 800 of those will present to NUH. And hip fractures themselves are associated with poor nutrition, and poor nutrition itself is associated with poor clinical outcomes. Poor clinical outcomes, patients get infections, they get poor wound healing, they can get sores. And when you look at hip fractures themselves, the actual patients, we see that 40% of them are actually malnourished when they come into hospital, and the problem is just exacerbated. Next slide. So what do you need in terms of nutritional requirements? Hopefully, most of you on the call will have had your 2,000 calories, hopefully not more than 2,000 over the day. But it's estimated that you need approximately 1,600 to 2,200 for women and approximately 2,000 to 2,800 for men, obviously depending on the level of activity. Just to give you sort of a rough idea, a two-finger Kit Kat is 200 calories. So a few two-finger Kit Kats to get all the calories that you obviously need. At the time that people are ill, that is when they're in hospital, or a time when you're having surgery, you have increased requirements because your body's in what we call a catabolic state. So it needs more energy and it needs particularly more protein, really to try and prevent and to try and maintain this problem that you will often see. Slide. This is lunch served in the hospital last week, and there used to be the old joke about, oh, send you to hospital to have hospital food. Hospital food, particularly at NUH, it's recognized. We won various awards, locally sourced, really good produce that that we see. And clearly, if patients are, when they're served these meals, eat these meals, then we won't have a problem because this is a great balanced diet, lots of protein, some carbohydrate, vegetables. This is perfect. So patients ate what they were served and finished their plates, then we won't have a problem and we won't be having this discussion now, and there won't be an issue around malnutrition and particularly in hospitals, problems with nutrition itself. So many of you who work on wards, or those who haven't worked on wards, you'll go around and you'll see, particularly after meals, a lot of food left over. So the first question that we had was, how much food is actually wasted inside hospital? Next slide. So we, as part of really trying to evaluate nutrition and hydration on the wards, the first thing we did was to really look at the food intake of patients across one of our acute trauma wards. These were older people who'd obviously come in having had a hip fracture. And what we essentially did, we measured everything that was left over on their plate over a 3-day period. So we took all the food that was on their plate at the end of each meal, put it into a plastic bag and weighed it. And there's two types of food waste. I don't know if many of you will know, but the two types of food waste on the ward is, if you can look at the picture there in the bottom corner, we can see the food is served on what's called barrage, and any food that is left on there at the end of the meal is binned. It's not allowed to be put in the fridge to be rewarmed. What is left is actually binned. And then secondly, patients that are the food that's left on the plate is also binned. So we weighed both amounts of food just to look at what was going on. On the left-hand diagram, you see essentially what patients were actually eating. So on average, approximately just under half of the main meal was actually consumed, and about 2/3 of their sweet dish was actually consumed. But frighteningly, the median calorific intake across the 3 days for the patients was roughly 643 calories. If you want to get to a size 4, I'm told, or USA size 0, you need 600 calories a day. So maybe if you break your hip and come to the ward, we can help you achieve that. But this is a real concern where patients need to be eating around 2,000 calories. They're all eating 643 mean. And this is the mean value. And the really sad thing that we saw was that the range was from 0 to about 14, 1500. So 0. So there are some patients on our wards who are eating nothing over each of the 3 days after major surgery. And then if you weigh the food, we found that there was a patient waste, approximately 6.2 kgs per day, and the food trolley waste, again, is very similar, 6.2 kg. And if you add all of the waste, multiply it by the number of patients on the ward, multiplied it by the days of the year, on average, the ward is throwing away 4.5 tons of food. One single ward in this organization, we're binning. So when we talk about food waste, it's a huge problem. And so it's fine having great food, but it's only going to be of benefit if it actually goes into the patient. So this is a real problem. Thanks. Next slide, please. So what's the answer? So a lot of manufacturers have developed all these sort of supplement drinks, and we use them in our hospital, different types of formulations, Complan shakes and mixes and all those. And for many of you go onto the wards and look in the cupboards, many of these will be lying there, but also you'll find them lying on the end of patients' beds, because we found that from experience, patients don't particularly like them. And it's one of the few things that are left lying there, marinating on the end of a trolley of the patient. Next slide. And when we looked at energy drinks or the supplement drinks in our hospitals that those patients serve, of all the drinks that were served across the ward over the 3-day period of time, 72% of that volume is binned. Only 28% is consumed. So most of this is actually thrown away, and that's a real challenge. So we need something to try and help our patients. We need something that's going to boost their energy. We need something that's going to boost their nutritional side of things. Next slide. So what's the answer? Well, we did some patient work, and what's really important from a research perspective, we sat with patients and we asked them. It's very interesting. I went to a research meeting once when a doctor said, well, we don't have any PPI because I know what patients want. And that straight away, you know, that this is where there's a real problem. So we sat with patients, we sat with their families, and we said, look, you need to eat in hospital. You know, what is it that you like? And there's varying answers, biscuits and snacks. Fish and chips was very popular amongst older people. I gather there was a lot of controversy yesterday when they had the D-Day. There were lots of places trying to serve fish and chips. A lot of the older people said you can't have it on a Thursday. It has to be Friday. So for some reason, fish and chips had to be, you know, on a Friday. But one of the exciting things that patients talked about was having ice cream. Next slide. And so patients said, well, why can't we have ice cream? That's a good snack. You know, it's great. Problem with ice cream is, oops, sorry, go back one. Yeah. Yeah. The problem with ice cream is that, yes, it can provide calories, but it's just sugar. And that's the real problem that we have, is that it's, and but the exciting thing with ice cream, it's a great vehicle, particularly for when we are not feeling particularly well, or particularly for when you want to stimulate nutrition in a different food source. Ice cream, from an evidence base, has really found to be a really good vehicle to deliver nutrients. And so we took that notion, can we deliver nutrients in a way that can be attractive for our patients? Next slide. So we said, okay, if we and currently on the market, there's nothing that has any really high protein type of ice cream. So we thought, okay, why don't we design our own ice cream? I mean, it seems ludicrous, but we thought, okay, what should be in it? So that was the first challenge. So we did some collaborative work with the University of Nottingham, Department of Food Sciences, across at Sutton Bonnet campus. The students were looking for a project, and I said, okay, make me some protein ice cream. We told them what to put in it, and they did it. And actually, it was quite palatable. It tasted nice. And we thought, well, actually, here's a great potential formulation that could work. So we thought, let's do some patient testing. But unfortunately, the University of Nottingham kitchen is not food safety ratified. So we had to look at a collaborator, essentially, who could produce food in a way that could be served to patients. And we thought, well, actually, if we're using dairy cream and we're using milk, well, why not go to a dairy farm? So this was the first step, working with a collaboration with a company called Dreamy Cow, which has a farm. We went across, went to them and said we'd like to make a high protein ice cream, and they initially laughed at us, said, well, you can't put protein in ice cream. This ice cream is just full of fat and carbohydrates and sugars. It's not really designed to be nutritious in terms of energy and protein. But lo and behold, we created the first, this is probably the highest protein content that we're aware of across Europe. But what we did, we created it in a slightly scientific way that if you look at what muscle actually requires, muscle requires a number of amino acids to help build muscle protein. And of those, leucine's one of the most potent of those amino acids. And whey protein has leucine plus the other amino acids. So whey protein was the minimum that have like inside. But clever scientists also have shown that if you add in additional leucine, you get greater antagonistic effects of the negative and greater anabolic effects of muscle as well. So we added in some leucine. And then to be even more clever, the evidence also shows that vitamin D also stimulates muscle independently of the amino acid. So we added in vitamin D as well. So this was the first creation of what we acronymed NICE Cream, which stands for Nottingham Ice Cream, really to give that local recognized feel and recognized product that we actually did. And we did some work and testing, and we went on to, at this stage, go on to win the National Medipex Innovation Award. Next slide. And it obviously intuitively makes sense. If you ask people, would you prefer an ice cream versus this horrible protein drink, a shake, which doesn't taste very nice and warm compared to this really nice vanilla flavor ice cream? Clearly, people would say yes, but the problem in science is that you have to do the trials and you have to show that. So we undertook a crossover study just to look at the cross comparison, comparing Nottingham ice cream versus the high protein drinks that currently served, on the wards. What I've also just shown on the left-hand side here is the current ice cream we serve in the hospital. And it kind of made me laugh because when I was discussing this with the catering department, I said, oh, we've got some great ice cream here. We don't need another one. But great maybe in terms of cost because it's 20p, but it's complete rubbish in terms if you want the high protein content because it's just 1 gram of protein and doesn't really have the calories. So that's fine for taste after a meal, but it's not fine to help muscle in any way or form. Next slide. And this just summarizes really the more scientific rigor that we undertook looking at the ice cream compared to obviously the protein drinks. The ice cream is sort of shown in the sort of orangey bars and the high protein drinks in the purple bars. And you can see through every factor, appearance, smell, taste, aftertaste, texture, the ice cream scored well and over and above compared to the nutritional drinks. And the overall preference was that 82% preferred the ice cream compared to the actual drinks. And that's what you would expect because there's some people who just naturally don't like ice cream, and that's always going to be the case. So it was never about completely replacing, but giving patients options that would allow them to optimize and maximally take what they need to have. Okay, next slide. And so on to sort of ventures new, what we then found is really in terms of what we call taste fatigue, is that taste fatigue is a symptom that if you have the same thing over and over again, the first few days it's great, but then after about a week, you never want to see it again. So what was really important was to develop additional flavors. So having worked with Dreamy Cow, we moved on to a much larger dairy farm, Matlock Meadows. And Matlock Meadows, for those of you who may or may not know, it's obviously a dairy farm across in Matlock, but they also supply a lot of the amusement and the visitor attractions across the area. So Ibram's Heights, Chatsworth House, all of those places. So they're quite a recognized manufacturer. And with them and their support, we've now gone and developed 4 flavors. So we have vanilla, strawberry, mint, and salted caramel. And we've had quite a large success over the last year. We've gone on to win a number of global awards and recently won the Business Award for Best Product and for Best Health and Nutrition Product and Best Innovation Product Award as well. Excellent. So just to conclude, really, hopefully just taking you through a journey of sort of where we started and sort of where we are, and perhaps part of that discussion of where we'll have is where we go next, and perhaps where you can all help and the support that we need. In summary, malnutrition is a real common problem across the hospitals, particularly for older people. Hip fracture is the most serious injury, particularly after a fall. And hospital meals are the most important part. So this is not to replace, but this is where patients need that early support. This is to help to try and support patients. But by all definitions, hospital meals are the best energy source for our patients. We know that supplements are poorly consumed, and clearly where that's the case, you need to look at alternatives. And fortified ice creams offer a real great opportunity. And ice cream is the now registered product that it's now the IP is owned by Nottingham University Hospitals. But we see the wider implications, not just for older patients across the trust, but many other patient groups, particularly those having GI surgery, who struggle to eat, those who have oral facial cancer, who's really struggling to consume foods, lots of the palliative care patients. I think there's a real need, and I think the need can go, I mean, on and on. But then if you escalate that across the UK, it's all hospitals. There's a need for those patients. Thank you ever so much, and happy to take any questions.
Lovely. Thank you so much for such interesting and informative presentation, Rosh. Yeah, I think we're all going to be going home and having fish and chips tonight because it is a Friday after all. So, but yeah, a great innovation, and it's just fantastic to share that journey, right from concept through. And I'm very, very happy you mentioned the importance of patient and public involvement in developing that as well. But to see it through fruition and now have the product that is now still developed. So absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. So opening the floor to questions. As part of this series, we welcome questions, discussions. So please do not hesitate to either pop your hand up or put a question in the chat. It's exactly what these sessions are about. So I can see Kate Marks, your hand is first up. So would you like to come in and ask your question?
Yeah, I work as a practice development nurse in surgery division, but I'm supporting the digestive diseases clinical educators and directorate at the moment. I kind of wondered if you saw it potentially being used in those patients, and if you've had any discussions around that. And I know there's a thing where sometimes people get their procedures, cancelled. Do you know what I mean? Several days in a row. Is something like this is like a quick, easy way to get some, if they're able to eat, some nutrition into people, or if they're able to eat in a limited way.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kate, so thank you. It's a really good question. Kate, I need people like you. I need people like you to help us support and raise the awareness across the trust board level. I think on the shop floor, clinicians like us, we know there's a real need and we can see it happening, but at the trust board level, and particularly at that sort of the hierarchy of the dietetics and the catering, they don't see this. And I think we need voices like yourself to say, we need this, on the ward. We just started a pilot service improvement project on the trauma and orthopedic wards.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah, I'm
really
aware.
difficult though,
Mm.
getting the ice cream onto the wards.
Right.
What you'd think
Okay.
it'd be really simple, but
Yeah.
you won't be able to believe the hurdles that we have
Mm.
within the, both the NHS infrastructure, but even at,
Mm.
NUH, everybody keeps telling me about, you can't do this, we haven't got a big enough freezer, we haven't got this, rather than saying exactly what you've said, Kate, is that we
Mm.
need to support our patients and we need to find ways
Mm.
around this. And it's crazy that we can't just get a system in there. So yeah, part of this is we're trying to work with catering and trying to work with them to say, how can we get
Mm.
this to our patients? And yeah, I'd be happy to
Mm.
work with you to look at the next phase. And maybe if we call it another service improvement project, then we can get
Yeah.
it into surgery. But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I've got a few, I don't know what people you've been in touch with, but I did previously did a nutrition quality improvement project for surgery division. So I got in touch with a lot of those people, and the deputy lead nurse for surgery, she leads the essential nutrition group as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah, yeah.
maybe put in touch, like raise it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, with my other hat, I now chair the nutrition and hydration group for the
Mm.
trust. So to me, there's a
Right.
big
Okay.
agenda, and to
Mm.
me, the bigger agenda is, we need to start benchmarking better when
Mm.
patients are not eating and really doing a bit more. And I
Mm.
think it's a fundamental aspect of care, nutrition and
Mm.
hydration. If we can't get that right, we can forget
Mm.
everything else.
Yeah.
So sure, no, happy to
Thank you.
work with you guys, and happy
Yeah.
to any pressure that
Mm.
you can send from the shop
Mm.
floor up, that would be welcomed. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kate. And I think that's, a really great way to kick off the questions, and that's fantastic to have that insight and support. So I think, like Opinder has mentioned, it would be brilliant to link up outside of this as well. Okay, so we do have a few more questions. So I'll move on to our next question, which is from Rakesh. Would you like to come in, Rakesh?
Hi, thank you, Kate, and thank you, Upinder. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can
Thank
hear
you.
you.
So thank you for this brilliant presentation. I have two questions about, since the source, I believe, of this protein is dairy, so has there been any impact on those who are lactose intolerant?
Sure. So no, you're right. So clearly, like all ice creams, there's a certain group of patients who can't have. So if you've got lactose intolerance, you won't be able to have it. So yeah, they'll have to look at alternative products. And we haven't reached that stage of looking at other formulations. But no, you're right that once you reach the more specialist, wider audience, for us, the the whole objective, Rakesh, we never designed this as a business. If I'm very honest with you, this to me was about improving patient care. It was never about a business. And so we wanted to try and work with the manufacturer to create effectively the cheapest product that we could get into an NHS. So we've used what we call commodity products, so whey protein, leucine. So you can buy these off the shelf, as you know, or you can even import them from other places. Matlock Meadows, who make the ice cream, have agreed that the cost of the product is exactly the same cost as a normal ice cream. So that for us is fantastic to hear. But as we scale up, and that's what we want to look at, the cost can only come down. So you're right, we then need to start looking at, alternative products that to try and address the wider, the whole, spectrum of patients. Thank you.
And my second question is a follow-up of it, because it's primarily targeted to those patients who are malnourished, primarily in respect to proteins and calories.
Sure.
So has there been any survey or a report on the outcome of those patients who have received this product as to?
Yeah, no,
So
so again,
what has been the impact exactly? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So the data I showed you was just a small presentation per se, but when we looked at the crossover study, on those who are malnourished, the median calorific intake increased from just under 900 to 1400 calories.
That's good.
And we had a patient just recently on the ward from our Path Service Improvement Project going on F18. One of our patients, unfortunately, post-hip fracture, who had quite severe dementia, eating nothing. Now, every day she's been eating 2 pots of ice cream. And that is 30 grams of protein she wouldn't have been eating otherwise. So to me, that's what it was really about. I feel we've achieved something for the highest risk, most vulnerable group. And so, yeah, this is part and parcel of a whole nutrition program. This is not to replace. So like I said right at the start, the meal is the most important. Then education around, ensuring that patients enjoy their meal and have it in the right setting. But this is only to help support them along that journey. It's never designed as a replacement. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for your questions, Rakesh. I'm going to go off piste. Sorry, Helen. What's coming to you? I just realised that Rachel Purdy is commented in the chat first before any of us stuck our hands up. So I'm going to go a little bit off piste and come back to you after Rachel, Helen, if that's okay. So, Rachel, I'm not sure if you would like to come in. Please do if you'd like to ask your question yourself. But Rachel has asked if this is now available to everyone at NUH and how do wards get hold of it. Oh, hello, Rachel.
Hello.
Hopefully I paraphrased that correctly.
So yeah, thank you, Rachel. Really good question. Was anything you wanted to add to that, or did that capture your points?
No, that was it really. I know you've covered a little bit as to where it's available, but I just wondered what the rollout kind of was.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we've managed to get some trust board engagement, but at this stage, every time we talk about trying to roll out, we always come around the issue of cost, and the trust is under financial pressures and all those issues. And I always challenge those. Yeah, but what about the 4.5 ton of food we're throwing away? Everybody keeps telling me that current ice cream hour is only 20 pence. So I think those are the bigger challenges that we have. I take every opportunity I can to present this work and share with you, and I'm looking for champions like yourselves to help me. And we need to snowball as much as we can from the shop floor up to say this is a real need, and we need this across the wards. We need it to help support patients. We need to do it in a sensible way. This is not about just providing really nice, tasty ice cream. This is to support patients of all different areas. It's not just older people. We've talked a little bit about, post-surgical patients, particularly some of the GI surgery, 3-4 days post-op, they're really struggling to maintain their protein intake. And yeah, so at the moment it's not available, and we want to make it available, and I would look to support from any one of you and every one of you to how we can make it available, and any ideas that you have. We've created the product. It's at Matlock Meadows. They're happy to supply it to the trust, and then we need to look at how do we then deliver it to patients and the infrastructure that we need to have. I regularly tweet and say that NUH will be the leader to show how it's done, because other hospitals have been asking me, how can we get this here? What can we do? So I'm really pushing NUH to be the leader. So yeah, any of you that have ideas and suggestions and help support that pressure, we help really welcome. So yeah, Rachel, I'll be looking forward to your help and support.
Thank you. I don't know if I don't work on a ward anymore, so I don't know if any wards still do this, but I know one of the adult gastro wards and one of the pediatric oncology wards, they buy in specific food for their patients separate to the NUH provision, and they used to anyway. And I don't know if that's still a possibility, that if within an individual ward budget they felt that was a benefit to their ward, whether that would be feasible.
Yeah, no, sure. So again, I'm welcome to any suggestions, ideas. We want this to go out to as many patients that we feel would sort of helpful. That's what we've designed this product for. We've designed it to help patients. We haven't designed it, just to sit in a fridge somewhere. So no, yeah, happy for people to contact me and to obviously challenge the sort of the hierarchy above to see if we can find a way forward.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you. Helen, Sorry about that. Please
That's
come
okay.
in.
Hi, Opinder. Sorry, I've dipped in and out of this a bit, so it may have been covered. But you keep on talking about the trust, comparing it to the price of the ice cream that we already have. But how does it compare to the price of the protein shakes? Because that
Yeah.
I know you may have covered that already. So
Absolutely.
apologies if you
I
have.
haven't. No, I haven't covered that. The problem with the protein shakes that it's manufactured. The trust have a contract with a company called Nutrition, and I think there's certain negotiations that go on with companies within the trust, and then obviously ensuring that patients are then discharged on these products. Then when they go back into the community, they then continue with those products per se. From my understanding, talking to NHS England, so for that reason, those products are then quite cheap or almost given free. So it's kind of a sort of various deals that go on, and it's quite difficult to try and break some of those. But from my understanding, that will change in the next 6 to 12 months. So therefore, these drinks will be about £2.50 a cost per bottle. Therefore, it's very comparable to the ice cream that we have. So I then think then there'll be an even market, as to where it needs to be. So I think that the future is changing, and I think that's the model we need to look at in, within that setting, that I think that it is a cost viable situation, because particularly when you look at potential clinical outcomes and the food waste that we have, and we haven't modeled that in. We're looking at, as people often do, as you know, when that's why we design research studies, people never look at cost effectiveness. They just look at front-loaded costs. And clearly, if we see a product which is actually a little bit more expensive, but the cost benefits are, in terms of patient outcomes, greater, then it just makes sense to do it, really. So yeah, so that's some of the work that we need to do a bit more work on.
Yeah. Sorry, my other question is around use in paediatrics, and I noticed Kat's got a hand up as well, so I'm not sure if she was going to ask a similar question.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry to jump in, Kate. I'm Katerina. I'm one of the pediatric intensive care consultants and currently RNI lead for family health. And I was listening to you and I thought, wow, you are working on the other end. We are working on the different end, where actually, which kid doesn't like ice cream? Yeah. And the amount of time, so I worked in critical care and have all the post-op and post-critical care illness, the amount of care times that we ask the parents, please go and ask and buy them an ice cream. It's immense. So I can see lots of potential, but I don't know. I can't see a reason why it can't be used in pediatrics.
No. And that's why, the way we've gone about this, we've never marketed it as an oral nutritional supplement. This is a high density protein food supplement, full stop. So it's given, and we're given the autonomy as part of service improvement work. It's at the discretion of the nurses. So it's just a fortified ice cream. So there's no clinical implications. So it's not prescribed, it's not given, and we were advised by NHS England not to take that approach, because with the overhaul kind of the foods sort of strategy, obviously the aim is always to have a balanced meal, and if you're struggling with that, then it should be looking at a high energy food, high density food supplements that should help you, not nutritional drinks and things like this. So from the point that you make, there's no reason for why children can't have the ice cream, and it'd be great to get their experience and get their views and feedbacks. So you're happy to collaborate outside with you here to look at maybe doing that.
How are they being commercialized? Where? Because
so the way it currently happens, so NUH own the IP, but Matlock Meadows, who are a dairy farm, actually produce the ice cream. So it's a ratified, commercialized dairy farm that has all the accreditation, all the certification. So essentially, what we will be doing, the trust, is where we are doing the project. The trust will order in from Matlock Meadows, and then the vision is that would come to the pediatric wards or the freezers, and then you would give it to the children that you feel appropriate. That's how I would see it working.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes parents are so desperate, honestly,
that
they'll go to Matlock to buy an ice cream.
And that's the other thing we've said to Matlock is that Meadows is that they need to now develop system, looking at mail online, etc. Because this has all happened really quickly in the last sort of few weeks, where we've now got the registered trademark, we've now got the ingredients all confirmed, we've got all the 4 flavors. So what I'm sharing with you is really quite hot off the press. What I'm also happy to do, and this is Kate's fault here, I did say I'd do it in person and bring you samples, and I would want everybody, genuinely, any products we give to our patients, we want to taste first and say yourself. So the work we're doing on F18 and the work we're doing on the trauma on the spinal ward, we've said to all the nurses, they've had all the flavors, taste them, so they can say to patients themselves, actually, this is nice, I like this. And that's, I think, what we want to try and aspire to, products that you'd like to have. So yeah, maybe we can follow this up, and I'd be happy to look at what collaboration you want to do. Maybe we'll invite you up to the research office where we can try some of the ice cream as well. How does that sound?
Honestly,
Katrina?
I'm completely flabbergasted. I just remember when my kids were smaller, I went on a holidays and they spent, I don't know, I think a weekend living on ice cream because they wouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I think just to follow on, the other thing we're quite interested with Matlock Meadows as well is new flavors, what else they would like. So we, particularly for older patients, they very much like the vanilla, but we did extend that to the other flavors, the strawberry, the salted caramel, and the mint. But children may like something else. And again, we'd be very keen to explore some other types of flavors, and they'd be happy to make those. Some of our older patients, the men, wanted the rum and raisin flavor, so we said we'd maybe think about a small sample of that. But again, like I said, it's a great vehicle, because the future is, could you deliver other nutrients in the same way? Other vitamins, other types of products that you can have. So I think it's a great vehicle for trying to address the nutritional problems.
I mean, I'm not joking. Sometimes it's the only thing they eat.
Yeah.
It's an ice
Yeah.
cream.
But that's the same reason why we did it on the older patients ward, because some of our people with severe cognitive issues, it's amazing how you give them some ice cream and how all of a sudden they're very interested in food. Where you put a plate of food in front of them, they won't eat anything. And that's why we developed, and that's why I developed this work. It was about patient care. Like I said, it's never a business innovation. It was all about how can we improve patient care. But yeah, no, happy to collaborate with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. No, I think just the kind of excitement and passion, this is exactly what these are about. And I think we've definitely got scope here to do a second event that may be face-to-face, to look at inviting other stakeholders that would be interested in getting behind this, in trying to implement this in other services as a standard across the trust. So that's, very, very excited that this is what's come out of the discussions today. So thank you so much. I do believe so, Katerina, you did have your hand up, but did you have another question, or is that covered? Has that covered everything?
Oh no. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much. We do have another question in the chat. So one is from Elizabeth Tibbett, who has asked, is there a potential for, I think we've already asked, the commercial business plan relationship, and also could this be used in treatment for eating disorders, or with children who have aversions? I guess that's just, again, looking at the, the absolute scope of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what we've always felt, that within, but that's, and again, taking that further, we want NUH to be a leader in different platforms of different age groups. And I think, that's what we should be doing. And I think there should be a real priority within the trust. And, I'm grateful both to Anthony and to Ed. I know Anthony's on the call, but I don't know if Ed is, but, in help supporting, helping us navigate through some of the legal and the commercial and the IP work. So yeah, really grateful for that. And also for Tom's work, really just giving that support behind it, trying to push the product as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I think the final question we've had, or comment really, is from Alexandra, who said, has it been presented to the Nursing and Midwifery Board? Perhaps obtaining their support would be useful. And I guess that's maybe something that we look at if we know in the next steps as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a
absolutely.
fantastic recommendation. So thank you, Alexandra. Okay, conscious of time, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who has attended today, and huge thank you to yourself, Opinder, for attending and sharing that. I mean, from the enthusiasm shown by everyone, I'm sure that this is going to lead on to other events and engagement activities, but just very, very grateful for your support and just
welcome.
Taking the time out of your day to attend. I have mentioned that this video will be circulated. What we usually do with our Research Lounge events is we'll top and tail them and put them on our YouTube channel, and that will be shared with everyone. So anyone who you think hasn't been able to attend today, who would really like to hear about this, or anyone who maybe you might not, just please share it as far and wide as possible. That's what these sessions are all about. And I have popped my email address and our team inbox in the chat as well. So hopefully this has inspired you to put forward any recommendations for anything you would like to showcase, or any of your colleagues if they would like to showcase their work. So I will leave us there. Just again, thank you for attending, and thank you, Opinder, again for sharing your fantastic work. And I'll hopefully see you at another session soon.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks all.
Thank
Bye.
you so much, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.